Hey everybody, welcome back to World History with Mr. Finn. Today we are putting a wrap on our Islamic Empire, Arabian Empire chapter and topic. We talked a lot about the expansion. It had been established as a major empire in the years following the fall of the Roman Empire. Now, let's talk a little bit about everyday life for the people in this empire. One, generally speaking, the Arabian Empire, Islamic Empire, was very accepting of other people. As we said before, you could have your own views. In fact, even during the Crusades, which we'll again address with Europe, you're going to see Muslims in charge of Jerusalem, but allowing Christians to come and visit and kind of allowing this coexistence of people, which is not always the case. Some empires and some leaders always try and dominate and conquer and take over things. But this empire, and really most empires that last a long time and expand, are usually more accepting of other people's views and allow people a little bit of freedom while still knowing who is in charge. Those are the empires that usually last a long time. But cities in this Islamic empire are going to be built. A lot of it back to trade. We talked about trade with Muhammad, that he was a trader. That never changes. The Middle East is a perfect place for trade, meaning that a lot of money is going to go through. Trade is important for these cities in the Islamic Empire, because what's going to happen is you get all kinds of goods, all goods. So what are some goods that you have? Things like silks from Asia, further east, with China and places like that. You're going to have sub-Saharan, this is a big trade thing. Obviously, slavery is not good by any means. There's nothing good about it. However, slavery did exist in almost every empire at some point, and it is a business, unfortunately, to speak of it that way. Silks from Asia, sub-Saharan slaves. You're going to have grain from Egypt, other luxury items ivory from Africa. So you have all of these different things, because the Middle East is called the Middle East, kind of, because it's middle. It's in between Europe, it's in between Asia, and goods could kind of go through this area. So that means that the Islamic Empire, which exists primarily in the East, if we look back at the Eastern Roman Empire, is going to be very prosperous, going to have a lot of money. Some of the bigger cities are in that area. Some of the nicer cities are in that area. So there's money there. And when you have a good, solid economy, other things grow and you have a prosperous city, and that's a good thing. To that point, central to every Islamic city, and large cities especially, is going to be the bazaar. Bazaar is a covered marketplace. What's a marketplace? Well, it's a market. So if you went to, let's just pick a city, Damascus or Baghdad during this time, you would see a bazaar. You'd see a marketplace. It would have people selling goods, traders trading things. The economy would be working. You would have street vendors, meaning they would have food that they would be selling. It would be like, I don't know really what to compare it to, like a street fair, I guess, where there's food and goods and things like that. And because trade was so big for these people in this empire, bazaars were kind of the centerpiece. So if you remember, in ancient Greece, we talked about the polis, the city-state, and at the Acropolis, where the government would take place, was a central thing for every polis in ancient Greece. That's the equivalent of the bazaar. in these Islamic cities. It was super important to them. It was central to their city, each city, because of trade and how those cities had developed over time. But that's not all. They are going to be mostly, if not the most intelligent people of the time. You could argue maybe China, maybe the Byzantine Empire, possibly. They're going to be very intelligent. They're going to be clean. They're going to have math and science. They're going to have libraries and schools and things like that. Those are all things that were not existing in Western Europe during the time. So if you went to like England, France, or any of those places in Europe, it would be a mess. And we'll explain that as we move forward. But they were living in the dark ages, quote unquote. Medieval Europe, it was terrible. If you went east, though, to the Byzantine Empire, to the Islamic Empire, even over into India and China, you would find a much more educated, cleanly society. Cities were still there. People were still living. Things were pretty good over there. So, some of those things, one would be an astrolabe. That's how you say this, an astrolabe. This is it's a tool. This is for navigation. It's for navigation on the seas, on water. And it basically was like, think of it as a compass, which tells you northwest, north, south, east, west. An astrolabe could tell you what direction you're going while you're on water using astronomy. For navigation on water using, I'm not going to use the term astronomy. I'm going to tell you what that is the study of. Astronomy is the study of like space and the stars and the sky and the heavens. But this astrolabe, like using the stars at night, could tell you, in the heavens, could tell you where you were position-wise and where you were going and things like that. It is a major scientific breakthrough that, I couldn't even tell you how it works. Let's put it that way. And I'm a fairly intelligent person, and I could not explain how the astrolabe works without having to go figure it out, look it up, research it, and those types of things. Another thing, you can thank them for kind of solidifying algebra. You probably have that class or have had that class. So we're going to call it the principles of math, of this math. Algebra existed, but Pythagoras. There was algebraic things that had happened. They did not invent algebra. However, they kind of solidified the principles of math and algebra, made major contributions. They made major contributions to literature. Like I said, they recorded Greek works and translated them into Arabic. Medicine. They knew how to treat people's injuries and illnesses. All of these things did not exist in Western Europe. Again, we will get to it. But what I'm trying to explain to you is this. This Islamic empire was very advanced and probably, if not the most, one of the most advanced civilizations during the time period. I would venture to say it probably was, with all the stuff that they had and the education that they had and everything that they were doing. So overall, while we leave this empire, we're going to go now from this empire from 620 AD to around 1200 AD. We're now going to go back to like 500 AD. And then we're going to do this whole time period again with Western Europe. That's where we're going to go. So all of the things we've been talking about with the Arabs, the Muslims, the Islamic Empire, and the expansion had taken place over this time period. So essentially a 600-year time period. Now we're going to jump back to the end of the Western Roman Empire, and we're going to start taking a look at what happened at the end of Rome. But go ahead and number 1 to 4. Let's make it 1. Let's make it 1 to 5. Got a quiz today. So go ahead and number 1 to 5 on your paper. And let's rock this thing out. All right, here we go. Let's begin, shall we? Flip the page to the beginning of a chapter. So we got to flip again. Here we go. Oh, I like this question, number 1. This is, oh man, I feel like we might have asked this question already. But this, number 1, when prices go up steeply, prices increase very quickly, that is called what for number 1? Number 1, when prices move quickly in the upward direction. Flip. Here's a fun one. Number 2, give me one person. One person that was in the first triumvirate. The first triumvirate. Give me one person who was in the first triumvirate for number 2. Oh, let's knock some papers over. All right. Nothing there. Ooh, I like this one. Number 3, who wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey? Who wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey for number 3? The Iliad and the Odyssey. Who wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey? Let's go back a little further. I know that this one was on the last quiz, so I'm not going to do that one. I haven't done this one in a while. Number 4. Number 4 is, what were the name of the people in ancient India in the caste system that would have to bang 2 sticks together to let everybody know that they were coming? Who were those people? What were their names? Lowest rung on the caste system. They had to hit 2 sticks together to inform people that they were coming. And number 5. Don't get it twisted or confused here. Number 5. This is the term that means belief or a religion in one God. One God. The belief or religion that there is one God. Again, do not get confused. I'm going to help you out here. This is not the word that means belief in many gods. This is a religion that believes in one God. All right, turn your notes and your quiz in to me today, and we will move it on. Make sure that comes to me today for attendance and participation purposes, and I will see you next class.